Nyarlathotep is like the cosmic horror's answer to a smooth-talking villain. Unlike most of the outer gods, who are these mind-bending, incomprehensible entities, he is this disturbingly relatable, charismatic, manipulative, and always scheming, sinister creature. He is called the crawling chaos for a reason, where his grandparent, Azathoth, is a mindless slumbering mass of chaos at the center of the universe. Nyarlathotep is sharp and calculating, acting as the messenger and the voice of the outer gods. Think of him as the bridge between their unknowable madness and us poor mortals. But he doesn't just relay their will. He enjoys toying with humanity, spreading despair and insanity wherever he goes. He shows up in countless forms, sometimes as a man, sometimes as a monstrous nightmare, each tailored to mess with people in the worst possible way. The very first of his avatars to be described was in H.P. Lovecraft's 1920 prose poem called Nyarlathotep. The Wailing River is one of those things you hear about in whispers, an avatar of this outer god that feels like it crawled straight out of someone's worst nightmare. It is described as this floating mass of writhing tentacles and gnashing jaws, constantly moaning in agony and changing positions. But here's the kicker: some of these mouths aren't just mouths. They're full-on faces, complete with eyes and nostrils, staring and screaming like they've been trapped there forever. The whole thing levitates unnervingly, gliding through the air like it's hunting for something or someone. Over the years, Lovecraft created a lot of these avatars. Two of these are the Black Pharaoh and the Haunter of the Dark, two of Nyarlathotep's most infamous and terrifying avatars. The Black Pharaoh, Neferenka, was described first in Lovecraft's The Outsider of 1926 and was supposedly the last pharaoh of Egypt's third dynasty. This guy was deep into the dark arts, introducing the cult of the animal-headed gods to Egypt and making a bloody deal with the outer god Nyarlathotep himself. The terms, well, sacrificed thousands in Nyarlathotep's name and in return gained the horrifying power of prophecy. But here's the creepy part: when Neferenka died, he didn't just fade into history. It is said that he merged with Nyarlathotep, becoming one of his many avatars. Then there's Queen Nitocris, naming her son Neferenka, suggesting that he might have been a reincarnation of the Black Pharaoh, a fresh human vessel for Nyarlathotep to walk amongst mortals again. We then come to the Haunter of the Dark, which appeared in the 1936 story of the same name, and here the outer god is seen as a whole other nightmare. So imagine a massive, semi-material, bat-like creature, except it's not really a bat. Its body is made of some corrosive otherworldly substance, some black goo ichor that melts human skin like acid. Its defining feature, a glowing tri-lobed eye, bright and horrifying, like it's staring straight into your soul, maybe even through it. The Haunter of the Dark isn't just scary to look at, it is a manifestation of his corrupting, maddening influence, and is one of the most famous avatars, even though it's lesser known than the next avatar we will talk about. And this is the God of the Bloody Tongue, which is no doubt the most well-known avatar of Nyarlathotep and was said to be revered in Africa. It appeared in the story The Other Gods, which was written by H.P. Lovecraft on August 14, 1921, but was first published in November of 1933. This being is described as a giant with 3 legs and a red tentacle where his face should be, and this red tentacle is extra long. It is curious that the representation of this avatar has become so popular and iconic that it is usual for Nyarlathotep to be seen or represented generically with this aspect, treating it as if it were the main avatar or its original form, although this is not specified in any writing. So, in the story, once every 5 years, this god of the bloody tongue manifests himself on a mountain to feed on the sacrifices that his cult and devotees offer him. H.P. Lovecraft also introduced another avatar called the Black Man, which was seen in The Dreams of the Witch House, published in 1933. The story follows Walter Gilman, a student of mathematics and folklore at the Miskatonic University, and takes an attic room in the Witch House, a house in Arkham thought to be cursed. Shortly after moving into the attic, Gilman begins experiencing bizarre dreams, in which he seems to float without physical form through an otherworldly space of unearthly geometry and undescribable colors and sounds. Things appear to get worse as Gilman dreams that he signs the Book of Azathoth under the command of the infamous Black Man, who is stated to be a form of the evil Nyarlathotep. It becomes apparent that this true god's true form will never be known, as he appears differently wherever he is seen. But in the modern times, he is mostly thought of to take the form of a sinister yet charismatic individual whispering chaos into the ears of other people. Then we can't forget the faceless god, which is another avatar described in a story of the same name, which was published by Robert Bloch in 1936. This story was accepted by Lovecraft as following his vision of the mythos, and thus makes it canon. This avatar was revered by the branch of the Brotherhood of the Black Pharaoh. Rituals were performed around this large black stone idol erected in the Egyptian desert, and this represents the faceless god. This avatar is shown as 3 to 5 meters tall, seen as a black stone sphinx with vulture wings, the body of a hyena, and a human head devoid of a face. But when this being becomes enraged, 2 eyes of fire appear in the void of his face that usually cause madness to those who look at them. One of the punishments that this faceless god can inflict on his victims is to bury them and let them be devoured slowly by vultures. August Derleth also introduced the evil outer god as the Dweller in Darkness in the story of the same name. The story concerns mysterious anomalies at Riggs Lake, which is a remote body of water in Wisconsin. The Dweller in Darkness of the title turns out to be Nyarlathotep, described as well as being the blind faceless one and the howler in the night. Pictographs found in the area portray him as a vast amorphous creature bearing only a curious cone-like head, which even in stone seemed to have a fluidity which was unnerving. Moreover, the creature was depicted as having both tentacle-like appendages and hands, or growths similar to hands, not only 2 but several, so that it seemed both human and non-human in its structure. When the story's main characters encountered the god, it was seen as a gigantic protoplasmic mass, a colossal being who towered upwards towards the stars, and whose actual physical being was in a constant flux. From its mass of amorphous flesh, they grew at will before their very eyes, tentacles, claws, hands, and withdrew again into itself. The mass itself diminished and swelled effortlessly, and where its head was, and its features should have been, there was only a blank facelessness. We also have another infamous one in the form of the Sharan, which is yet another avatar, and was created by H.P. Lovecraft's contemporary called Henry Kuttner, although it has since been expanded on by several other authors, including T.E.D. Klein in his 1980 story. Here, Sharan is associated with Tchocho, an artwork of an oversized man with a very long horn. However, sightings of this creature gives the impression of a fish-like being with webbed feet, a gas mask-like trunk, which kinda looks like an elephant, and wings of some description, although these may in fact be catfish-like fins, but who knows. So post-Lovecraftian works include beings like Atu, which was seen in the work called Than Curse the Darkness by David Drake, published in 1980. In his introductory notes, Drake says, "This is the only Cthulhu Mythos story he has ever done. He wanted to logically answer the question of what sort of humans would serve the absolute evil of the old ones when they come to Earth." He sets the story in the historical horrors of King Leopold's Congo Free State. It is believed here that Atu can be called upon on only certain special occasions and by using a certain spell with a special golden amulet depicting a 3-lobed eye which was wreathed in flames. Then Drake generates some memorable moments of terror when it is explained that Atu is Nyarlathotep under another name, and how it is an evil that will become the earth itself, just as the same way fungus infests and replaces a piece of wood while retaining its shape. It is also said that this Atu manifests in the form of a black column of viscous matter, around 50 feet in diameter, erupting from below the ground, with several golden tentacles sprouting from its central mass. Now those are some of the monstrous avatars described in books, and now let's take a look at some from games. While there might be more that I don't know of, One of the ones that I do is the Black Buddha that appears in the game called Persona 2 Eternal Punishment. He is worshipped by a group of heretical Buddhists, the brother of the Black Lotus, who also revere the Great Old One Choknur Fawn. He apparently confuses those who seek enlightenment and corrupts them to lead them away from the right path. The Black Buddha here also comes along with another avatar called the God of the Bloody Tongue, which is of course the most iconic form remade from Lovecraft's The Outer God story description. Then there are the other avatars from the game called Call of Cthulhu, a role-playing game, like Aku Shin Kage, who is seen as a monstrous samurai, along with the Writhing Wailer, which is remade from the descriptions of Lovecraft's 1920 story. Another avatar, the Sugaron, was also incorporated into the same game, first appearing in the 1992's Escape from Innsmouth, a supplement. So, while Cthulhu is no doubt the most well-known entity from Lovecraft's mythos, Nyarlathotep's appearances and influence on the cosmic horror genre is more extensive, debatably. His forms from a Writhing Wailer to a Black Pharaoh to the iconic God of the Bloody Tongue with that very long tentacle in place of a face and a head speaks more than can be said here. And so with that we come to the end of the video. Do hit that like button for support and also subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, fam.